Welcome to the Bear Collective podcast, where we meet you at the edge of what you know and dance with you into the depths of what you don't. In all things personal development, relationships, and lifestyle, we empower you to take what you need and leave what you don't. Thank you for watching, listening, viewing, and subscribing. Now let's get into today's episode. Let's dive straight in. You have an exciting announcement. What is it?
I'm preggo. As you can probably tell. Yeah.
Totally
maybe not the
yet,
blackest one.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And just to jump to, you are now in trimester
2.
Yes.
Yes, and like a fair way in.
And I want to take it back to when we met 4 years ago.
Wow.
I can remember looking at your Instagram and doing the stalk, and when we became friends on Instagram, and seeing these like yearly kind of like Christmas pictures
Oh my God.
with your husband.
Yeah.
And I remember the conversation that we had where it, over the years, it was like, oh yeah, next year I'll be pregnant.
Yes, in the Christmas photo. Yes.
Yeah.
I always like every year I was like, this is the year we're gonna do the like Christmas pregnancy reveal. And then it just, you know, for whatever reason kept getting pushed back and pushed back and pushed back. The December, what was last year, 2023. You can see how my brain's working. Yeah, that was the year we popped that up for everybody. And yeah, I was really excited. Like, I think every Christmas it would just get to this point, and that kind of showed me like, oh, I want a child, because like we would get to that point and I'd be like, Christmas feels a little lonely without a little kid around. Like, I think I might actually want one.
Yeah, I mean, just for Christmas.
Yeah, then we'll hand it back to the elves and off we go.
So would you say this was, where were you at? Were you kind of like planned? Were you and hubby planned?
Like when we
Shout
fell.
out to hubby, by the way. Hi, Chris. We love Chris. Was it planned? Was it kind of unplanned? What was it kind of?
There's actually a whole story. I love this story, like another one of my personal stories that I'm obsessed with. We had been talking about it. It wasn't something that just popped out of nowhere to some extent. And like originally we had a lot of like thoughts on not having children and not bringing kids into the world the way that it kind of is, or that we see it. And I was really, really hesitant. You know, we obviously both like are quite career driven and wanted to do certain things, wanted to tick off some travel that we haven't been able to tick off with a diabetic dog. So we really just, we weren't sure. And then it was Chris's birthday last year, end of the year, and I had this inkling, like on the Airbnb, you could book a massage to go with it. And I was like, oh, that would be like a lovely idea. We both need a massage. Maybe I'll do it. I ummed and ahed, and then something kept telling me like, just book this massage. Weird. And then like when it's a
that's
massage.
kind of like the intuition drop though.
Yes.
Like it's something that's calling to you. Yeah.
Yes. And so I booked it. And then we get to the Airbnb. It was like the first thing that we had booked in, like it was literally an hour after we got there. And in walks this lady, and she's just like the most warm, welcoming lady you've ever met. And Chris went first. I was like, it's your birthday, you go first, I'll wait. Now I want to put in here that Chris is not like super woo-woo.
What we call woo-woo.
Yeah, because this is about to get woo-woo. And he goes in, and like leading into this trip, he was really uncertain about some things around work and his career. Goes into this massage, like quickly comes out for a sec. I think he had to go to the bathroom or put something to do with the robe. There was something. Comes out and he grabs me and he goes, she's one of those people. And I was like, what do you mean, babe? And he's like, your people, your people, she tells you things. And I was like, oh, like she's really like psychic or medium or intuitive. And he's like, yes. She just said to me, like, you're going to change jobs. This is going to be the best thing for you. I'm so excited. I'm going back in there. Anyway, he goes back in.
But can I just preface, having
Yes.
had conversations with Chris,
Oh.
he is skeptical on this kind of stuff. So for him to kind of actually come out and be excited to share that with you,
Yes.
kind of out of character for him.
It hit home for him in some really profound way.
Yeah.
Because otherwise that is not going to happen.
Yeah.
He could have gone the complete opposite,
Oh,
like, and just shut down and gone like, this, who's this like weirdo touching me, essentially. Anyway, he has his beautiful massage, comes back out, he's very dazed and confused, because it's also like a Reiki infused massage, which we didn't realize. Lovely surprise. And then it's my turn, and I go in, and the big question for me had been, like, what do I do about kids? Like, I'm nearing mid-30, like that biological clock has absolutely started going off.
It's a thing.
It's real. I always told myself it wasn't, but it is. And then I had got private health just in case, like, and we were in that sort of 3-month period where you've got to wait for that to kick in before you can actually start trying. But then I also in my head had this, I really want a certain star sign, baby.
I remember this. The planning conversations that we had.
So we were, as it turned out, we were in the perfect month for me to have the perfect star sign that I wanted.
Which
a Cancerian that we both are. And I love, all of my family are Cancerians, like me, my sister, my brother, we're all born within a week. Funny enough, my due date is like 2 days after that. My mum's also like 2 days before that, like 2 weeks of Cancerians now. But I go into the massage. The first question this lovely lady asked me is, tell me about your body. And I just thought, oh, what a question, firstly. And I didn't really know how to answer it. I kind of went, because I was a bit stunned at, like, to me, that's quite a, like, I could go on for days with that question.
Yeah, so how do I answer it? It's not kind of like, how are you, or how are you feeling? It's directed to
tell me about your body. And I was like, wow, that's a whole different level of thinking. And then she doesn't let me answer.
Good.
She looks at me and she goes, you're pregnant. And I was like, no, I'm definitely not pregnant. But we are thinking about it. And I had really planned for this to probably be the time we start trying if we were going to. And she said to me, they're here. You need to do this now. Like, they are knocking, they are waiting, they're here. And I was like, they?
How many are we talking?
What do you mean? And then she said, oh, like, it could be 2 singular or are twins in your family. Twins are in my family. And then, talked a bit more about it. And I basically came out of that amazing massage and Reiki experience saying to Chris, let's give it one shot while we're here. And if it happens, it happens. It's like meant to be. So I'm pregnant.
And congratulations.
Thank you.
To you
Thank
and to
you.
Chris.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
And I want to say that you've done something really different this time, which I've found surprising and something that I have not experienced in my life. And I come from a large family. There's been a lot of pregnancies, and the thing that was really different that I was really surprised by is that you found out the gender.
Yes.
But you also named your baby.
We did.
And you shared that. Do you want to reveal the gender?
The gender I can, the name I was like, no. Yes, we're having a boy, a beautiful little boy.
And let's go back to, what did you think you were having when you were pregnant? Did you have that kind of thing? Right.
Yeah.
And Chris?
He wanted a girl.
Yeah.
He's always seen himself as a girl dad.
Yeah.
And so it was a bit of a moment for him.
Yeah.
But then within about 5 minutes, he was running around the house going, I need like cricket bats, I need golf clubs, I need more tennis rackets. Like, we're going to have to get all this sporting equipment. And here's me like, you might not like sports.
Or you might not be able to pick up a racket
Yeah.
for a while.
Let's just slow this down.
Too fresh first.
Yes. Yeah, let's maybe get the things we need.
Yeah.
Yes, so it was interesting. I have this way where I will try and get a sense for things, like for, you know, what I think is going to happen. And I laid in bed and I sat and I like just pictured both genders and tried to feel into my womb region. And when I would think it's a boy and picture a boy, I would get this like warm sort of feeling. But then, yeah, I had a more of a detached feeling when I was picturing like a female. And that's when I sort of figured out, yeah, I think this is a boy, which I was really happy with, because you do hear some people say that as you get older, the chances of a male are less likely.
Yeah.
So I was like, this is my boy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
I have to say I was with Chris and thought you were having a girl.
Heaps of people were.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
how did you find that kind of split? Was it very 50-50? Like, was it? Because people love to guess this part, like, and how did you feel about that? Like people kind of guessing or saying what they think you're going to have, and it's your body. Like, how did you actually feel about that?
So interesting. Like in the very early days, I loved it because I didn't really have a gutty at that point. But then
a gut instinct.
Yes.
A gutty. Okay.
Aussies know what that means. Surely.
You've never heard that literally just now.
Oh, maybe it's a Newcastle.
I was today years old.
Okay, well done. So I had a gut feeling once that came in, and that was probably, it was somewhere in the late first trimester. That I sat with that and really got an inkling for that. When people would say, I think it's a boy, and it resonated with my gut, I would be like, yeah, you're allowed to say that. But when someone would say it's a girl, I think it's a girl, and that didn't resonate with my gut feeling, I would get a bit like, oh, you reckon? Like, I don't think so. You know, like I would find my back up a little bit more.
That's really kind of, to me, outside observational, kind of really speaks to actually being so in tune with your body and being intuitive, not necessarily having the language around it or knowing, but actually it was an indicator, and your body was feeling for you and telling you the signs.
Yes. Yeah.
I love that.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And whilst we won't share the name here, you have shared that with family and friends. And what was the decision around sharing that early? Because most people do leave that till, you know, the birth kind of like announcement and that kind of thing. So what was the decision around that? And was it easy to come to a name? And
so the decision around sharing it was, like, for me in particular, it made it more real. I think for the first like 3 months I was still in this real disbelief that it was even happening. Like it was happening and I was going to all the appointments and everything, but it also didn't feel super real because you don't really feel a lot change in that time with your body, or I certainly didn't. But then as soon as we had a name and we knew the gender, I just sort of thought, yeah, it felt more real. And it, you know, it's then allowed, like my beautiful niece has made like a little bracelet with his name on it. So it's allowing everyone to connect to him before he's even here. In saying that, I would caution anyone, like if you have family or friends that are going to be very open about not liking a name, because we had 2 names originally, and my husband, he was like, we'll name them this one if they have your blonde hair, and this one if they have my dark hair. But then that second name, which we really loved, it was actually our first name, a lot of people said, oh, like I don't like that. So, and it does impact you a little bit. Like I'm at a point now, and if he came out and he looked like that name, I would be like, oh yeah, no, we've got to call him that. I don't care what anyone thinks. But yeah, if you're someone who really like listens to other people's opinions a lot and cares about other people's opinions a lot, I would not share it. But if you are very okay with that, and it's a beautiful way to let let people connect to them, and you can connect to them before they're even
Yeah.
their side.
Because people do tend to have reactions.
And they can't, no one can keep a straight face.
No, there's no kind of faces that exist anymore.
No.
So yeah, did you have anybody that kind of had that with what you have decided now? And obviously I think you guys know and are of the kind of thought process that, you know, obviously when the birth happens, if you wanted to change it, you would also do that.
Absolutely.
Because hair color, I think, does change too.
It does, yeah. It can be white and then it can go black. Like there's all different.
Don't know about that man logic on the hair color. You know,
I get it for later in life.
Correct, but you're not gonna know.
Oh no.
But did you have any reactions that kind of did even jolt you just like a little bit and then like take you off balance, wobble, and then you kind of come back to your own strength?
Not really. No. And even like the name we have chosen, it came really randomly. I was at the post office and the guy who works at the post office introduced himself and said his name, it being a very small local post office. And I went home to Chris and I was like, I found the name.
Oh,
like,
wow.
This is what we're doing. Yeah.
The posting.
Yes.
Okay. That's a good part of the story. I like it. Didn't know that part.
Yeah. So it was, and then luckily because the name we'd originally picked and then changed to this one from one of my closest friends recently had a bub and that was their boy name if they were having a boy. They had a girl, so go them. Congrats, guys. Yeah, she's beautiful, but yeah, that would have changed things, I think. And I probably would happily leave that name for them now, just in case. Yeah.
Take me back to trimester 1 and being first time pregnancy for you.
Yeah.
Tell us about that experience. Like, what are the things that you kind of maybe knew about or knew to expect? And what's maybe some of the things that you didn't expect?
I didn't know a lot of what to expect. I hadn't really opened myself up to that because pregnancy for me has always been like a huge fear. Like I am exposing myself hard to this experience to try and overcome like this huge fear that I had myself. About pregnancy and childbirth and labor, all of the above, being a parent. And then, so first trimester for me, I was actually studying outside of work at the time. I was doing a level 2 training in inner therapy that I'm loving. And I'm glad it fell at that same time because it was all about protective parts of yourself that show up to try and guard younger, like wounded parts of yourself. And I had so many like protective parts showing up in that first trimester. It was all of the, how are we going to afford this? How are we going to do this? Like, how are we going to change our whole life? Really,
such common fears.
To make space for this responsibility, as well as like, you know, have we done enough of the work to make sure that we are like the best parents we can be? I know we're going to stuff up, everybody does, but like I just wanted to come at parenting from a really grounded place and a really connected place with my hubby. Like it would be so hard for me in my mind to ever come at parenting when you aren't in a really good place in your relationship. And that was something I always really wanted coming from a divorced family with parents who don't speak. Like I really just wanted to have a really loving home environment and really role model that. So I was also like, have we done enough of the work? To
be the change.
Yes. So lots of protective parts in that first trimester. Luckily, you know, I'm always doing my own therapy and I was working with a colleague and still am at the time in this model to work with those parts of me that have come up, and that whole training was working on those parts. So that was like an intensive therapy week. So it's actually all fallen at a really lovely time that helped ease a lot of those fears.
And anything that surprised you about pregnancy?
Oh, probably on a more personal note, you know how much I love exercise, and like, you know, I've always really loved feeling a certain way within my body. Accepting the physical change has been a huge surprise for me. I didn't think that that was something I would do very easily. But weirdly, it's just, for me, it's become a natural part of the process. I'm like, oh, what's my body doing today? I'm wondering if not knowing a lot has helped. Like, I follow an app and sort of see what changes to expect in the coming week, and what my body's doing, what the Bob's body's doing. But yeah, learning to accept those changes was the real surprising thing.
And I think from a friend perspective, like knowing how physically active you have been, it's not that you have stopped either.
No, oh my gosh, no.
You've honestly just become really grounded in tuning into your body in the day, and you
Yeah.
still, I think what's amazing is your mindset has still been to be active and to try and push yourself in that way, not in an unhealthy way, but from a mindset perspective, it's like, what can I do to move today?
Yes.
And what is my limit? And some days you're out there on that bike and jumping around and doing all the things and the push-ups, like, which, you know, are all amazing me. And you know, and other days it's a gentle walk, and it might be a gentle walk twice a day or something like that.
Absolutely. And then even just like, I was never a daytime napper because, you know, I've always got something to do in my head, and I've got so many projects I want to be working on in that time, or books I want to be reading. But just noticing if my body is really fatigued and needs a nap on days I'm not working face to face with clients, and taking that nap. And, you know, learning to sacrifice. Like, I've cut back on so many social activities, family activities. I've really, I guess, cocooned in to just use my energy for what I believe it needs to be focused on right now. Really prioritized what matters most.
And stepping into that really stepping into that mother archetype, and also just owning the space and the place that you're in, and also just really tuning in and listening to yourself. That's what it sounds like. And not worrying about stereotypes or norms, and questioning those things and those limits for yourself, and what's the standard that you want to hold, and what is it that you want to do, and very present around you as well.
I've become a lot more grounded than I ever have been, just naturally. Don't know if it's hormonal. Don't know if it's all the work I've been doing. I'm not sure. Combo of both.
Absolutely.
But yeah, like, those things that used to worry me just don't anymore. Even like, you know, owning and running a business, I'm not worried about it. I'm just like, it'll be fine. It'll work out. If I need help, I'll teach my husband how to do the invoicing. It'll be fine. Like, I've really dropped back on really over focusing on that as like it must continue to grow, etc. It must continue to profit, etc. I'm just like, what will happen will happen, but I've got to keep this baby like healthy and alive, and safe.
And you can do both, and you are.
Yes, that was a big part that came up in the first trimester. I think I had this what we call a polarity, where I had one part of me that was like, what about your career though? What about all the things you want to do with your career? And this other part that, like, literally when I picture it, because you picture them as like a character or whatever comes to mind, it's me pregnant. And very like a bit hippie and grounded. It's like that side of me. And there was this huge polarity between like, but you're a mother now, this is the chapter of your life you're entering, that's what's most important. And I felt a lot of conflict and indecision and confusion and anxiety around those two parts conflicting with their very different ideas. And yeah, what this process has definitely taught me is I can have both of those parts. Just don't fight, guys.
together and
Let's
fully
work this out. I'll monitor, I'll manage, but yeah, let's work this out.
Yeah, and I think that's such a great point that you bring up. We can often go into I can only be this or that, or
Correct.
have this or that, and there is a world that exists where it's both.
Yeah, and so many women are doing that.
Yeah,
so many.
There's so many women before us. Yeah.
Yes, that's what's helping me with the birth phase. I'm like, how many women
have been doing
done
this for
this?
centuries.
Yes.
It's a process that works.
Yeah. Our body knows what to do.
Yeah.
I'll breathe.
It's why we're here.
Yes.
It's how we got here.
Exactly. Yeah, isn't that weird to think about too?
And speaking of hubby, I mean, how has his reaction been? How has the relationship changed? How has he supported you?
Yeah.
Has stepped up in different ways that have surprised you, or just that you?
He's always been so supportive. He's the kind of man who'll put anyone before himself, sometimes to his detriment. However, he stepped up even more in terms of like, I'll come home from work, I will be more tired than normal. He just takes over everything and lets me sit back and kick back, relax, refresh. So he's always been great in that way, and he's just added a bit to that. It's interesting, we've talked about just how different it is for like the partner or the man in the relationship who isn't pregnant. He openly says like, it is very different for me. Like it doesn't actually feel as real for me because I'm not the one growing them. And I totally get that, and I think I'm so aware of that too, and so I'm trying to like bring him in on a bit more of that and just describe what I'm like experiencing in the day, or you know, if I see the baby kick while I'm at work, I will like make sure I message him and I'll be like, oh my gosh, I just saw it, insert name here, kick. Or like when Chris and I are talking just at home, if I feel Bub react, I'll be like, oh, Bub liked that, or you know, like I'll kind of speak for him in a way, just to try and bring hubby in and help him feel more connected, because like, I can imagine it would actually be, as much as I sometimes look at it and go, how easy for a man or a partner who's not pregnant, I really also don't envy that, because there just isn't the same level of connection that the person having the baby feels.
So natural. And to be expected. I mean, as the woman carrying the baby, you're growing a human life inside of you. And but often I've heard and experienced a lot of men, I think it's quite common that they don't feel that connection until, you know, the birthing process. But there are definitely ways that you can get them involved and just building up a bit of the excitement.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
Cute.
So I love that part of it actually. I'm like, oh, because it feels so special to me, but it's so lovely to work on that with my hubby too. I really like that bit.
And you're now in trimester 2.
Yes, which they say is like, you know, the blissful trimester, because you get a bit more of your energy back and you feel a bit more alive.
Have you felt that way?
I actually have, yes. I didn't, like, I feel for some women, I didn't have the most horrendous first trimester.
Morning sickness wise.
No, I only had a little bit, and as soon as I cut caffeine, that was great. So I was very lucky. But second trimester, you definitely have that like burst of energy, comparatively to first trimester. And from what I've heard, comparatively to third trimester.
And have you had any of the weird cravings? Like, what's the weirdest craving that you've had?
Do you know, everyone asks me this question. This is like being the most asked question. And no. I went through that phase of like only savoury foods and really like dry, bland, like lots of Vegemite, crackers, bread, very carb heavy, but definitely haven't had like the pickles and ice cream or things like that. I think the weirdest thing I've had is like I looked at Chris one night and I was like, I need a slushie and I need it now. Like, and if you don't get it for me, I just can't cope. Like and a slushie is not something I would normally go for. That's quite out of character, but that's as weird as it's gotten for me. But he was stoked. He was like, yeah, I love a softie. Let's go.
Is he pregnancy eating too? Is he like, come on, surely you've got craving that I can join in on?
Maybe
he get you anything.
A lot of the time. But we've always been really in tune like that anyway. Like we'll just have to look at each other like after dinner and it's like a nod and off we go. Like we just seem to know with one another. So that's been pretty much the same. Yeah.
I love that. And what are you looking forward to?
I mean, post-birth. Because that's still
going
freaks
into
me
trimester
out.
3 and going into becoming a family of 3.
I'm excited to become the family of 3. Or technically 5. 5? Yes, I have 2 daughters.
Pregnancy math.
Girl math? I honestly. I had to think about it. I was like, how many dogs do I have? Like, I'm really excited.
2 boy dogs. It's
2 boy dogs. I'm surrounded by penises. Yeah.
We went there.
You have to. I'm surrounded by men. I like that though. Like I've always really connected with the masculine energy a little bit better. So I'm really pumped about that. But yeah, I'm really keen to just have this little being in the house that we get to foster and care for, and to watch like my husband do that. I'm so excited for that. Like I used to look at babies and just be like, oh, not doing it for me. But now I see him hold a baby and like how big his hand is compared to it, like how cute it looks when he like nuzzles one into his chest, and I'm like, yeah, okay, I like this. I really like this.
Pregnancy hormones.
Yes. Some people have that from like early. Like I speak to so many women who just know they want kids, like from the get-go, and I never had that. So it's been very interesting to watch that transition, and now I'm definitely one of those women that's like, yeah, man with a baby, nothing sexier.
Yeah.
Cannot wait to see that every day. So I think that will be nice, and just to see, I think for myself, how becoming a mother will expand my consciousness and just my awareness and all the different avenues that my thinking will go down. Even how that will transition into my work. I'm quite excited to see what that means.
The evolution.
Yeah.
I love that. And I love that you see it as expansion. It's an expansion. It's going deeper into your levels of consciousness.
And it's learning. Like I will be learning. I already learn on the job every day, but I will be learning on the job like every day at home as well, which I'm so excited for. Yeah, it's a whole nother realm out there, really.
I love that. Is there anything that you want to share that we haven't kind of covered off on today? Anything about your experience? Anything that is weird, quirky, funny, fear-based? Any advice that you would give to people? Things that you've learned so far? It'd be great to do. We'll do another episode on like a trimester 3, kind of like update. But I mean, what about any advice that you would give to women out there in their trimester 2 or in your experience so far?
I think just ground into it. Let it like sit with that energy of being the mother and growing this life inside of you, and do that every day. I just think it's such a grounding experience. That's been the biggest thing for me, is just really sinking into what that feels like and what that means for me. And just, for women to know that they can do it all if they really want to. You don't have to sacrifice a career. And if anyone's scared but know they want to do it, just jump. There's no point planning except the star sign. I'm all about that. But yeah, just jump, because you'll actually surprise yourself immensely if you do.
It's kind of the age-old saying of, you know, stepping out of the comfort zone and into your fear is the fear will dissolve.
Absolutely.
You edge towards
yeah.
that.
And like, it's been a really good practice of, I can't control everything. And just really learning to surrender to the experience, because once they're there and it's all going okay, and you know, they're coming out, no matter how that has to happen, they are coming out at the other end of this. And I just think, learning to surrender and let go, like, it's been a huge lesson in that for me. And I've really enjoyed that, because I was like quite a regimented, controlled, organized person before this, and I still am in so many ways. I mean, you've seen my house. But I definitely, like, when it's come to like parenting and the business and things, like, I have learned to just surrender, and it is what it is.
Trusting in the process, and the women that have done it for centuries.
Exactly.
And
so many women that have walked this path before me.
Yeah.
So that's really it.
I love that. Well, we will do a trimester 3 update and check in and see how it's all going. And obviously, when Bubba arrives, I'm sure we will be
breastfeeding on camera. Yes.
Okay. Whatever makes you feel.
Yeah.
So thank you for listening, watching, and subscribing. Tune in next week for another episode of the Bear Collective.
See you next time.
Bye. Bye.